So welcome everybody. This is our weekly healthcare support conference call. But today is going to be a very special meeting. We have special guests with us today. Not only do we have Jeff and Helen here to co-host the meeting and to share their insights and valuable resources with us, we also have Dr. Kedar Prasad. We're going to be interviewing Dr. Prasad about his publications. Two of the books that he's authored, specifically on the subject of cancer, because cancer is pretty pervasive. But before we get started with Dr. Prasad, I just want to cover a little bit of the, how would you say, I don't want to say background, but just some of the reasons why cancer is what it is. So let me just 1 second here. I've got a few slides that I want to just show you, and some of this Dr. Prasad will be able to reference as we get going in our discussion with him. But just to lay the foundation for our discussion, the real question that we were looking to address is, will micronutrition have an impact on cancer? Well, Dr. Prasad is going to make that real clear for us, but there's been all kinds of documented facts and information that has made it very clear that the answer is yes. And it all stems from something called free radicals. Here's an illustration that was published in Newsweek magazine some years ago. And you see that big blob in the back there, that's a tumor. And what precipitated the entire thing, you see the flow, the arrows flowing on the left side there. It all started with an oxidant. An oxidant is a free radical. If it can do damage to the DNA, and if that DNA, that cell is allowed to replicate, that's how it turns into a tumor. And the beautiful part about this whole thing is that you can stop oxidative stress or stop oxidants with an antioxidant. And one of the most powerful ones is glutathione. This illustrates exactly how that progressive. If you were to take a tomato and leave it sitting on the counter, eventually it would turn into that blob you see on the right. It just begins to degrade. That's oxidative stress. The same thing happens in our cells. It's no different. If one cell becomes deranged and is allowed to replicate, it becomes a tumor. Sources of antioxidant or oxidants or free radicals begins with air pollution, the water that we drink, the food that we eat. These are all sources of toxins that can go into our body and can cause free radical damage. What opposes that? Antioxidants. Generally speaking, eat right. That's the direction that we're all given. Make sure you have a good diet. Now, if that diet includes something that raises glutathione levels, you really have something going for you. And that's kind of where Dr. Prasad is going to come in our discussion. But just to let you know how important glutathione is, this slide was found on the FDA's website some years ago, and it had a list of glutathione depleting agents. And you don't have to look very, very closely to see that there's a lot of things there that can cause our bodies to have low levels of glutathione. Acetaminophen, you think that that's something pretty harmless? Well, that's Tylenol. So just using Tylenol can lower a person's glutathione levels. Being outside in the sun, as important as that is, because of the damage to the ozone, XY UV radiation, that can also lower glutathione levels or deplete our body of glutathione. And I'm going to have a nice discussion about radiation a little bit later on also. Jeff will have an announcement for us on that. That last one, there's antibiotics. That's chemicals that our body can absorb through the skin. So if you're around cleaning agents or any kind of substance that can go into the body, the skin will absorb it, and that can deplete our body's glutathione levels. Thousands and thousands of documents have been written validating the importance of glutathione. In fact, the physician's desk reference refers to cancer as a glutathione deficient state. But here's the thing that I love the most. The immune system eats cancer for lunch. Just kind of a pun there, but that's an illustration showing just how the immune system can attack a cancer cell. So if you can feed the immune system with the right components, your body can take care of cancer. But here's a question. How many cancer cells exist in the body at any one time? And I'm talking about a person who's not been diagnosed with cancer. Well, the answer to the question, hundreds of thousands at any one time. The average person has more than 200,000 cancer cells. So the immune system is routinely taking care of this. So what happens? The problem is that if the immune system is not robust enough, it starts to lose the fight. It starts to get overwhelmed. And all it takes is one to lead to something as serious as a malignant tumor, as we saw illustrated in that Newsweek magazine. And so that kind of brings us to the crux of our discussion, dialogue here with Dr. Kedar Prasad. But I want to show you a little bit of his bio in a video that you may have seen. So before we actually talk to Dr. Prasad, let's run this little video and see if this will work for us. I can get this to work.
Hello, my friend. I'm Dr. Kedar. During my career as a radiation biologist at the prestigious Brookhaven National Laboratory in Long Island, New York, I became convinced that the right combination of vitamin and micronutrient could result in a groundbreaking formulation that could fight oxidative stress and inflammation. As many know, those are the sources of most chronic diseases. Not long after this, I became the chief scientist and formulator of that groundbreaking micronutrient formulation. Today, that formulation is known as MicroDaily. Once MicroDaily was developed, it became clear that this formulation could potentially assist military personnel who suffered from the toxic effect of war. With a $24 million grant funded by the Department of Defense and private investor, I led the research team that validated MicroDaily's efficacy. The benefits of MicroDaily have proven to be much more than I originally thought possible. Through MicroDaily's CQF standard, which stands for combination, quantity, and form, the right combination of antioxidant micronutrient in the proper quantities using the specific natural biological form helps to support the body's ability to unlock its full potential by maximizing absorption and delivering maximum results. MicroDaily is the formula that is most near and dear to my heart, and it presents an achievement I hope will ultimately benefit all mankind. For this reason, I joined Engage Global as their Chief Scientific Officer. Knowing David Nemelka to be an honest and sincere individual, I knew he would help to get my formula into the lives of as many people as possible. It has been an honor to hear from so many who have benefited from this formula, and I look forward to hearing your success story. Thank you very much.
So there we have it, folks. That's just a brief introduction to Dr. Prasad, and you heard it in his own words, exactly what his disposition is and how he feels about this product that we're going to be talking about. His credentials are quite extensive. He's been published more than 250 times, and he's authored more than 31 books. He's working on his 32nd book right now, the world's first radiation biologist, PhD, the first in the world. That's something to be, that's really quite something to contemplate, that someone has that kind of strength and background. So it is my honor and my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Prasad and to welcome him to our discussion. Now, why am I having a hard time?
Thank you, Jonathan. And I'm always happy to talk to you and to your groups.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here, Dr. Prasad, that's for sure. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Jeff. I was having a hard time getting that control for some reason. So Dr. Prasad, I said all that to just kind of lay the foundation, but before we get to talking to you, I want to remind everybody that the information that's discussed on conferences like this is not to be used as a substitute for visiting your primary healthcare physician. Dr. Prasad is a scientist. He's not a medical doctor. So we don't want to focus our attention in any way on making medical claims. In fact, we're not making any medical claims in this discussion, but we're going to be interviewing Dr. Prasad about his published work and books that he's authored. Let me see if I've got an image here, I think, of some of the work that you've done, Dr. Prasad. Let's see if I can't get this on the screen. So here's some of your books that you've written. And there's two of them here that we kind of want to focus our attention on. Not sure if I'll be able to write on the screen. But this one on cancer and this one on cancer. So you've had multiple times that you've approached it. And here's another one that you did on cancer. So you really have focused quite a bit on the subject of cancer. So maybe Dr. Prasad, would you mind just, help us understand what was it that led you down that road to make a connection between food, micronutrients, and cancer? And can it really have an impact on a person's health?
Yes. Yes, I think, thank you, Jonathan. There are two components of cancer. One is the how to prevent cancer, and second is how to improve the cancer treatment, the current cancer treatment. So the two aspects that I want to discuss with you today.
Good, very good, please.
Yeah, first, as you mentioned, that main reason for, one of the reasons for developing cancer is increased damage to the cell by free radicals and inflammation. And cell, like you mentioned, cell gets transformed to cancer cell probably frequently. But if your immune system is very good, then they call it NK cancer killer cells. They can kill cancer cell because cancer cell becomes a foreign object for your immune system, and they can handle it if your immune system is good. And so this is, and the cancer development is a long procedure, and you can intervene even though you are exposed to a risk factor, and some of the risk factor you mentioned it. But the thing it takes a long time to develop cancer. For example, if you are exposed to X radiation, which is a cancer-causing agent, or chemical, which causes cancer, it takes 10, 15 years before the cancer becomes apparent to your body. So that's a long interval, latent period. So even though you know that you have been exposed to cancer-causing agent at some times, and you have not developed as yet cancer, you have plenty of time to intervene with right micronutrient to reduce the risk of that damage, reduce the risk of the cancer. And so the cancer prevention is one thing. And as you know, the Cancer Society, NIH, they all have recommended, and some of them, Jonathan, you mentioned, that if you take a right kind of food, which are rich in antioxidant, blueberries, strawberries, and many other food, grapes, and good diet. In other words, balanced food, which has a low fat, high fiber diet. High fiber diet is very important for cancer prevention. And they recommend high fiber diet, like 26 grams of fiber every day. And American food are very poor in fiber.
Would flax be a good fiber?
Which one?
Flax, ground flax?
Yes, flaxseed is the very good source of fiber. And some of the vegetables are very good source of fibers. So if you take sufficient amount of vegetable and fruits every day with, more fish, less red meat, these are the recommendations made by the American Cancer Society, NIH, and everybody agreed to that. Right. For cancer prevention. First, I'm talking about cancer prevention. But despite these things, the incidence of cancer in our country is increasing. And, yes. and therefore, it is not that the recommendation is bad, but human behavior is difficult to change, and humans don't follow it. And if you follow half-heartedly half of the program, they do not increase the antioxidant level in your body
sufficient to affect the oxidative stress and inflammation. So it is a good recommendation. So what we recommended, that if you take a micronutrient, and a good example would be micro daily, together with all the dietary recommendation, lifestyle recommendation. For example, in lifestyle recommendation, smoking alone increases the risk of cancer, not only lung cancer, but other cancer as well, by 30%. So you can reduce the incidence of cancer in this country or around the world by 30% if you just give up their smoking. That's amazing.
Well, Dr. Prasad, just if you don't mind, just pause there for 1 second. So you mentioned just two unbelievable things. First of all, dietary recommendations, very few people are really following it. So what you're suggesting is that the body's being overwhelmed by so many free radicals, so many carcinogenic components, that our food alone is not putting up enough of defense to make sure our immune cells can fight it back.
Yeah, the kind of food that we are eating it, which means, more fatty food, actually that increases more oxidative stress in your body rather than decreasing. But if you follow it precisely, the dietary guide alone, that may not be sufficient. This is good. This can be useful for your health.
So even if you did that perfectly, is not enough.
No. And so that's why we say that you supplement it. You follow as much as possible, then supplement with a micronutrient, which are well prepared, like we have in our micronutrient in micro daily.
Sounds like the cards in the deck is stacked against us, Dr. Prasad.
Yeah, and as I said, that you have enough time to intervene. Sometimes age factor to develop all kind of issue, including cancer.
Right.
But and even the genetic basis of cancer, can be reduced or prevented by micronutrient. And one example I will give you, that we did a study in collaboration with the NASA at Moffitt, California. They have a huge NASA lab for biological research. And I met their scientists there. And one of the scientists, Dr. Bhattacharya, she developed a model of fruit fly. Fruit fly generally don't develop cancer. So she inserted a cancer-causing gene in fruit fly. So now fruit fly can develop cancer. But on the top of that, if they irradiate the fruit fly with proton radiation, proton type of radiation is the radiation that our astronauts get on moon surface. So proton radiation is much more potent in increasing the risk of cancer than X-ray or gamma ray. So she irradiated the fruit fly, and sure, almost 100% of the fruit fly develop cancer. So then I said that, well, you develop, if you give antioxidant preparations, and and so we gave a formulation of antioxidant, those antioxidant and doses which are present in micro daily, because fruit fly does not leave B vitamin and things like that. So we just gave the antioxidant component of the micro daily.
Right.
And so she fed through the fruit fly, it's semi-solid media in a test tube, So they fed they mixed the antioxidant formulation with the diet and allowed fruit fly to eat as much as they want for 1 week before proton radiation. And then she continued to feed after irradiation for another 7 days. And the incidence of cancer was reduced by over 90%.
Oh my goodness.
Here is a genetic basis because we inserted it. So we know it had gene basis. And so this was a remarkable observation, and suggested that even the genetic basis of not only cancer, but probably other diseases like Alzheimer or Parkinson can be affected or can be reduced in terms of by using an appropriate type of micronutrient.
That's remarkable. That's remarkable to contemplate it. Anyone listening right now, should draw the conclusion it doesn't matter what we're doing as far as our health is concerned, a healthy, heavy diet of antioxidants should be part of the conversation.
Exactly. Healthy diet, don't smoke, and take micro daily or proper micronutrient like we have developed micro daily. This will reduce the risk of, because we have measured in human trial, we have measured in animal study that this particular is highly tested clinically as well as in animal model, that it reduces oxidative stress, it reduces inflammation, as well as improved immune function. This is very important even for cancer prevention, because if your immune system is good and somehow some cell become cancerous, body sees it is a foreign object, kill them.
Uh-huh.
But if your immune system is poor, immune system can't send the cancer killer cell to the site, and then you develop cancer.
Yeah, well, that's like having a bank and the security guard sitting up there sleeping or watching television.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is very important to remember how to reduce the risk of cancer. And as I said, despite of the best dietary and changes in the life recommendation made by American Cancer Society and the NIH, the incidence of cancer is increasing in this country. Yeah. And it is not the fault of the diet, it is the fault of the people who don't follow it.
Right.
I mean, despite we are saying, how many people we are saying that that we don't smoke, but have you smoked it?
That's right.
Even, once in a while, if you eat a high caloric diet, is okay. But if you're eating everything in a high caloric diet and you become obese, that increases the risk of not only cancer, but many other diseases. Because obesity increases oxidative stress. And when you have oxidative stress, it causes inflammation.
Well, thank you very much for not totally taking away my comfort foods. That every once in a while I can have a little bit. Okay, thank you.
And so this is all about really the cancer prevention. Cancer is a very complex procedure, but people have during last decades they work out the mechanistic aspect of cancer, right, how it develops, and where we can intervene, and how we can intervene, and what intervention means. And so I think it is important to remember that main causes of almost all human chronic diseases, including cancer, is increased oxidative damage and inflammation, which can damage DNA, all parts of the cells. And there's all kind of micronutrient and things like that. But antioxidant has a very complex mechanism. It is not only just the reduces free radicals, but it has many more other functions, which is very important to improve your health and has a role in making sure that you don't develop cancer and many other chronic diseases as well. So this kind of a strategy is not only helpful to reduce the risk of cancer, but also to reduce the risk of other chronic diseases, because same phenomena is involved.
Right. So a free radical is not partial just to the DNA. It'll attack the mitochondria. It'll attack any part of the cell.
Exactly.
And that leads to anything and everything else. Depends on where that cell happens to be.
So in a cancer case, the DNA damage becomes much more critical. But for example, in a case of Alzheimer or that thing, mitochondrial damage, RNA damage, many membrane damage becomes very critical.
Right. Okay, so now we're focusing on this matter of cancer, and you've written extensively about this.
Yeah.
You have you discovered that vitamin E succinate is cytotoxic to cancer cells. That was one of your discoveries.
Yeah. So now let us discuss the issue of, because the vitamin E succinate is not only important in prevention, but also in terms of when we discuss the treatment aspect. So let us discuss briefly the cancer. Well, cancer, once you develop the cancer, there are two kinds of cancer. One is called benign, which is a slow-growing tumor, and one causes metastasis, aggressive tumor. And benign tumor still they are benign. They can become large and create problem, but most of the time it is aggressive tumor that become big concern, and most of the tumors are aggressive kind, whether it's a blood origin or any origin in your body, any in your body where the cell divides, they are at risk of developing cancer.
Yeah.
And so, but for example, in a brain cell, you never develop a brain of a, say, nerve cell, but you develop brains of a glial cell, because glia cells, they divide if once you get a stimulation.
That's right.
But neuron can divide it. And you get a liver tumor, even though liver normally don't divide it, but it has a capacity to divide if you take, say, a piece of them out. So it has a capacity to divide even though you don't. And so any place in your body where the organ has a capacity to divide, they have a high risk of developing cancer.
Okay.
Aggressive cancer, then they spread all over the place, And the current therapy, as you know, current therapy is surgery. If it is accessible, that's the most effective and from long-term point of view, that's the best strategy. But in surgery, you can't remove 100% of the tumor.
Right.
So there are a few tumors left. And then after surgery, they follow with radiation therapy and chemotherapy. You know very well, radiation therapy, chemotherapy in some tumors is very effective. For example, childhood leukemia. Many children are saved and they have a normal life. But problem with that therapy is that 30 years down the line, when children were young, but 30 years down the line, when you are 40, 45 years age, they develop a new cancer induced by radiation and chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And so even though they had a good quality life for a long time, but there is an adverse risk. And depending upon where area of body got irradiated, you get irradiated of brain, then you have developed what is called necrosis or lesion, or brain area, certain areas start dying.
Right.
A strong lesion like a wound, it's terrible, and they don't heal it. And so that's a problem. You get muscle damage, that there is necrosis there. And so it's terrible long-term effect of current therapy. If it is only the children. For example, in breast cancer, people survive breast cancer very nicely, the surgery and give some chemotherapy. Chemotherapy has side effects.
And radiation.
They induce menopausal women if you are young. And so there are some side effects of therapy. In some cases, it has been very useful for good survival, but long-time adverse effect of chemotherapy and radiation exists. It has been very powerful tool in saving many lives. And so the question is how to take a best advantage of what we have right now, and reducing the risk of getting a long-term adverse effect of therapy. That's central issue. And there is nothing right now that is there, anybody suggesting it.
No, because no matter who's gotten cancer, they often are thrilled if they're told it's gone into remission. They're happy if they are being told that they can have 5 to 10 years in the future. But really all they've done is kick the can down the road. Yeah.
And a remission, sometimes remission reoccur.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you have all remission, then a new tumor develops.
Right.
So there is always risk. And so here is another. So I think the question was how we can use micro daily. I mean, how can you, not micro daily, but how can you use micronutrient in combination with chemotherapy and radiation, so that not only during therapy, but even after therapy, then we can reduce the long risk. Then after therapy, it becomes a prevention strategy.
Right.
During treatment is a treatment strategy. So what we have found it, and like you mentioned, vitamin E success is one of them, but also vitamin C, high dose of any antioxidant. You take glutathione, vitamin E succinate, vitamin C. Individually, this has been demonstrated by me and many other people. I demonstrated with respect to vitamin E succinate, but other people have done. Linus Pauling was one of them.
Yeah.
That Linus Pauling is the only American who won the 2 Nobel Prize, and he was my mentor, and I had excellent. That's why I entered the micronutrient because of him. And so high dose of antioxidant can kill cancer cell, but not normal cell.
Yeah.
And this was in experimental system. Nobody has tried in human. Pauling tried high dose antioxidant like 10 grams a day in cancer patient and published papers showing that cancer regressed markedly just by, he applied to those cancer people who have tried all the current therapeutic modalities and did not respond. Even that kind of patient, he gave a high dose of antioxidant like
and they
vitamin
responded
C alone.
Wow.
And got tumor regression.
Wow.
And so that gave me the idea that high dose of antioxidant could be useful, but he did not do in combination of radiation therapy or chemotherapy. But what I did in my experiment, that high dose vitamin C and high dose antioxidant individually, I combined with the radiation, which was next door because I was working in radiology department.
Yeah.
And so irradiated with radiation and use almost all chemotherapeutic agent that they are used in the therapy right now. And then I found that high dose of antioxidant will enhance the effect of radiation therapy, or in this case was X-ray, and chemotherapeutic agent, methotrexate, all kind of chemotherapy, cisplatin, we used it.
Wow.
So that's the first demonstration that high dose antioxidant can not only kill cancer cell, but not normal cell, but also enhances their cell killing effect on cancer cell, but not on normal cell.
Wow, this is revolutionary. Revolutionary.
It is. And I have sent the reason I have published in a lot of paper on this issue, but it was an experimental issue. So I filed a patent on this program, on this issue, that high dose antioxidant not only can kill cancer cell, but not normal cell, but also enhances the effect of chemotherapeutic.
Wow. That's
the
amazing.
question was how it is doing it. Antioxidant, the word antioxidant, if you say, well, it prevents against free radical damage. And almost all chemotherapeutic agents kill cancer cell by producing free radicals.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that?
Fighting fire with fire.
Exactly. So, but what we found out, that the cancer cell needs 2 things to survive, and not only survive, to divide and grow.
Mm-hmm.
One is sugar.
Yeah.
Another is glutamine.
Yeah.
Glutamine is one amino acid. So other people published, not mine, other people have published that if you deprive this cell, which are growing in an in vitro model cell culture in a dish, and if you don't give them glutamine or you don't give them sugar, they don't.
The cells die. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then I said, question is, does high dose antioxidant prevents their entry into the cell?
Yeah.
And guess what?
The answer is yes. It stops it from going in cell. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now
you stumble across, you found the mechanism of action. You found out why it stops the
exactly, because it didn't make sense otherwise. This is how come the free radical damage, but if it blocks it, you don't care whether free radical protect against free radical or not.
Wow.
They are deprived of nutrition.
That's beautiful.
They need nutrient and you deprive them. So even though you have protected free radical, it doesn't make difference.
I never ever heard anyone discussing antioxidants in that context, Dr. Prasad. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
It's very exciting. And these are the things that I have put in my patent, but I have not got it yet because of all things, what is going on.
Well, hurry up. The world need to know about this.
Yeah, but that's the reason I have not published this information. I have published many on the cancer, but why?
Oh, wow.
What is acting? Not only that, if you use a high dose antioxidant, and many cancer cell, after certain treatment, radiation, they become very resistant to radiation and chemotherapeutic agent.
Mhm.
Why? Because glutathione level suddenly becomes high in cell which are resistant to radiation and chemotherapy. That's the reason they become resistant.
Selective modulation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, but high dose antioxidant bypass that pathway, because you can have all the glutathione you want. If I don't give you any food, you can't live.
So you're saying the cancer cells become high in glutathione. That's why they become so robust and hard to kill.
So
But
resistant.
once you put all the antioxidants in there, you're starving them off. So it doesn't matter how
Yeah,
much
exactly.
glutathione.
Exactly.
Oh my-
So it doesn't
Wow.
care. Doesn't care.
I hope you folks are getting this and understanding what we're being alerted to here. Dr. Prasad is sharing with us information that he's not even published in any of his previous books, as good as they are.
No, I have not
This
published
is
because
remarkable.
I came across recently, so that's the reason I patented it. I missed the
Wow.
patent on vitamin E succinate because I was the first one discovered it, and now everybody uses it. Before 1982, there was first paper was published by me, vitamin E succinate. No other paper was published on any aspect of vitamin E succinate. But today, if you go on internet and type on the PubMed, there were 1,000 papers on vitamin E succinate.
Wow.
Over
Wow.
1,000 papers.
And you
So I
started
should
that
have
ball
patented
rolling.
that one too, but I
You
didn't.
should have. Mhm.
But
Wow.
so I did it. And so there is an excellent chance, So now when you go to during treatment, you do high dose antioxidant, at least experimental system suggests, has not been done in human trial as yet. But then after treatment, then you become a risk of developing what they call a chemo brain, means transient, foggy brain, and develop a long-term effect depending upon which area of radiation you got improved. So then question is how you reduce it. So now you become cancer prevention. So at that time, micro daily becomes very, very important, but not during therapy, because if you use a low dose antioxidant, they will protect both cancer cell and normal cell against radiation and chemotherapy.
Okay. So the
So
key
during
is
that time, if you are going to use, consult your doctor, but you have to use a high dose of multiple antioxidant, not just one, but multiple.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Good to know. Very good to know. So that suggests then that during the process ahead of time, you can take high doses of it, and that's going to be very helpful.
Right, but not during.
But if you're choosing chemo and radiation, if you take high doses during the process, it will actually help it to work better.
Right, exactly. But when you go to the oncologist, his mind is that antioxidant only reduces free radicals, and all chemotherapy agent causes damage to cancer cell by producing free radicals. So they will protect it. Indeed, in a clinical study where they have used a single agent like glutathione, for example, and they found that sure enough they protect normal cell, but they also protected cancer cell.
Right.
And so low dose antioxidant should not be used during chemotherapy or radiation.
High doses you can get away with.
High dose is different.
So then, Dr. Prasad, you mentioned once before an example of a doctor who was using high doses. He was literally giving his patients 2 packs of hydro every 2 hours and getting.
Well, I mean, this information was given to me by Elizabeth Roja from New York, who is who has connection in Puerto Rico, and she was telling me that Puerto Rican doctor is treating his cancer patients with this kind of a strategy, hydro, every 2 hours for 6 times, and claims that his cancer is doing extremely well. And these patients, some of them are unresponsive. And so there are anecdotal stories like that, but I have not talked to this doctor. And therefore I don't know what kind of cancer was, how long, person survive, all this kind of data.
Well, we're going to be pursuing that information, Dr. Prasad, because we want to know. So, in fact, a lot of the questions are coming in about high doses. And in that particular case, for those of you who are asking those questions, that was 2 packs of hydro every 2 hours, which is essentially double
every 6 hours
doses every 2 hours.
Not triple,
Actually,
it is a triple.
Jonathan, it was just one pack every 2 hours.
One pack every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is almost, 6
So
times.
it's like, six doses in a day versus 2 doses in a
And
day.
if you consider twice a day, so it is a 3 times what your dose is in a micro daily.
Okay,
Correct.
got
So
you.
for example, vitamin V will become like a 3 times 1.5 is 450, almost 5 grams. Everything becomes 3 times more.
Right, got you. Very good, very good. Well, Dr. Prasad, this is just, it's amazing for us to hear this, and we're excited about it. I wonder if we can maybe share a story or two. Jeff, if you're there and can maybe share with us a story or two of anyone who has used micronutrients in connection with, treating abnormal cells and trying to stay healthy. Maybe you can pull that in for us, Jeff.
Absolutely. I'd love to, Jonathan. And this has just been amazing to see these. Understand that what I'm going to be sharing with you are these people's own experiences. They are their words. This is not meant to be part of our diagnoses, our treatments, our cures. We dealt with these things there in the beginning. These are actual videos that they approved to be taken. And so I'm going to just share with you. I've got 3 of them lined up here. First one is going to be Susie. So just a moment, and it'll just come in on my screen.
Hi there. My name is Susie Reynolds, and I want to share with all of you my condition that I was diagnosed with. I had cancer, and I was diagnosed in October of 2020 with cancer. I had a stage 4 gynecological cancer. I had a spot on my liver, a spot on my spleen, and a spot where my gallbladder used to be. So I decided to try the chemotherapy, and I had 4 appointments and only 2 sessions of the chemo because my labs were so low that they wouldn't do the chemotherapy. So something told me, and this was like November, I was diagnosed, and then December and January. And in February, there was something that spoke to me about I needed to come see Priscilla. And I had met her in 2019. And there was just this gravitational pull to her office. And so February 5th, I came to see her of 2021. And Priscilla is guided by God. We prayed together on February 5th. We prayed, and she put me on Micro Daily, which I'm continuing to take. I love it. And I want to thank Dr. Prasad for his supplements that he's made. I think it's wonderful. And thank Priscilla for having these nutritional things that I'm using. So I'm using the Micro Daily Original. I'm using the Brain Boost, and I'm also taking the Eye Boost. I've changed my diet and all of that. And I can't tell you, and I've quit drinking alcohol, and I can't tell you how wonderful I feel through all of this. And in 1 month, my oncologist had told me that my numbers were 900 plus. And in 1 month, after seeing Priscilla and continuing to work with her, in 1 month, I'm down to 135. Now, I'm not out of the woods yet, but people that have no cancer have numbers of 35. And that's where I know I'm going to be. In 1 month, only 1 month, with all this therapy, the Micro Daily, all the nutritional supplements that she has me taking, in 1 month, I have gone down that much. And my cancer is nearly gone. I have hope and I have faith that I am going to be just fine. I get goose chills just thinking about it.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
How's that, Dr. Prasad?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's amazing.
My goodness.
Amazing.
Okay. So we have another video. This lady has had issues with her lungs, and she tells you a little bit about it. It's a little older video where she may reference it as MMF, the military micronutrient formulation. But let me share her with you. This was in Las Vegas several years back. So,
diseases and a brain tumor. I've been very emotional lately. They pretty much told me that if I did get it under control, I would either be dead or in a wheelchair. So I had an incident where I was in a very severe asthma. And I was in a very, very situation where my lungs closed off completely. And I was on a breathing tube. And they told my brother I wasn't going to live. So Dirk came in and mentioned the MMF. And he says, you've got to get her on this. You know, and whatever all these doctors are doing isn't helping. It's making it worse. So he talked to me and I said, I'm skeptical. I've tried everything, you know, and it's like, I'm afraid to try something. It's going to make it worse. You know, I may not live. It's what do you got to lose? So fine. If it shuts you up, I'll try it. So I started taking it. It's been over, 8 months? Oh yeah, about a year and a half.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
a year this October.
I have not been in the hospital. I forget where my husband medications are. I have not had a cold. I haven't even had a cough. Went and had an MRI just to check the brain situation. My brain tumor, for the brain tumor, is shrinking and it's disappearing. The disease I had that's actually a brain matter like MS, they don't have a name for it. They don't have a cure for it. It's actually dead in the water. So I can go without a lot of sleep. I've actually gotten back into, I have horses, gotten back into riding and working with them. I got nailed this weekend, but I've got energy that is unreal. I have taken nothing different but the MMF.
Another remarkable story, Jeff. That's incredible.
That's amazing.
we love being able to share these with others. The last one that we have for today, and then we'll turn the time back over to you, Dr. Prasad and Jonathan, are some friends that actually introduced Helen and I to each other. So we owe them for the introduction of us, and that's how much we feel about this couple. In fact, they are on today's Zoom call here with us, but this was a couple years back, and so I'm gonna share Steve and Linda Stay with you. Here we go.
Hi, we're Steve and Linda Stay, and our story with Engage started probably 4 years ago when a friend told us about this product, and I looked at it and said, yeah, nothing special here. You know, the cost was, we were used to spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on supplements. And so I dismissed it. But Linda, even though we spend that money on supplements, Linda was diagnosed with cancer and breast cancer. And after surgery and extensive chemo treatments, life wasn't going real well for her.
Right. I had survived the cancer, which I kind of wished I hadn't, because now I was dealing with the side effects, and chemo brain is a real thing. If you know people that have gone through chemo, trust me, they're struggling. And what chemo brain does is, number one, you can't really piece thoughts together. You can't function like you used to. I was a very multi-functioning multitasker, and I couldn't do that anymore. Couldn't think, and I had unreasonable anxiety and fear that would just come out of nowhere. And I honestly felt like I can't live this brain. I don't want to be here anymore. And it was hard to, I didn't express that, but Steve picked up on the fact that I was really struggling, and he felt.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd spent literally thousands of dollars a month over the year on supplements, IV nutritional things. He's trying to prevent that, and watching your sweetheart go through that kind of stuff isn't fun. And so I was searching, man, deep in my heart for an answer, and something told me to call my friend Jeff, and I needed to talk to him about what was called MMF then, and Micro Daily. And I called Jeff and said, I need to talk to you about this. For some reason, I'm feeling that's what Linda needs. And we got together a few weeks later as he made it back into town and
started on the product. And within a week, 10 days, I started to feel a little bit better. And it wasn't too long after that we had the opportunity to meet Dr. Prasad. And I told him what I was struggling with, and he held my hand and promised me that those brain cells could be restored, and that I would get better, and that I would be myself again. And I just started to cry and said, I hope so. I really hope so. And it was at that time that I confided in Steve how desperate I felt. And every week that went by, I felt more of my self coming back. It was like I could feel my brain coming alive again, and I could function again like I used to. I could.
was back.
I was back, and it's truly been incredible. I'm including energy and aches and pains, and all of that type of stuff.
But your brain was functioning like at the level, incredible level that it always had.
Yeah.
As a caretaker, that's not an easy position to take either. But I noticed with taking it that my sleep was deeper. I was sleeping deeper, and I'd had a hand tremor that had been progressing over the years, something that kind of runs in my family. And Linda noticed about 6-7 weeks into using this product that I'm pouring some tea from a bottle into another container. She says, your hand's not shaking. I'm like, wow, the other hand tried it.
It was awesome.
And so we've loved it as we understand the science more. One of the best decisions we ever made was to give it a try.
And again, we figure that we replaced about $300 a month
just multiple
vitamin supplements that we were taking, $300 a month each. So that's a real winner.
Wow.
Here comes the beach.
Get to use that money for gas now. That's amazing.
Yeah. How's that?
Wow.
Almost get emotional thinking back about that experience and how close this couple is to us in our lives, and to see what Micro Daily has done for them. And they were people that initially just discounted it. Oh, it's just another one of those things. We've got it covered. And
there's nothing greater in life than actually helping your friends and watching them get better.
Gratifying. Truly, truly gratifying. And she's, I just saw in the chat there that she's still doing well today. That's beautiful. Beautiful to see. Well, just thank you very much, Jeff, for sharing those amazing stories. And just as a reminder for everyone, testimonials are purely anecdotal. What happens to one person may or may not happen to you. So we're not making any medical claims about Micro Daily being a treatment or cure for any disease state. So, but one thing we do know, it makes the body function better. It's food for your cells. And Dr. Prasad is the formulator and currently the chief science officer for Engage Global, and he's responsible for this. We have many people who are very, very grateful for what Dr. Prasad has done.
And if you want to come and hear some more testimonials, this coming Wednesday, the 23rd, so just 3 days from now. Get back with the person who invited you on to today's call and ask them for the login information. It's a whole call. Just set up for just this, listening and seeing firsthand people's experiences with the
That
micro.
would be very important to remember. So look for that information.
And also on a March 30th, we are talking about the micro daily, the EMF radiations.
Yes.
And now EMF radiation has also become one of the carcinogen defined by WHO and and other federal agency.
That's
And
right.
so we will be talking a lot why this is the case, but focus would be on the EMF radiation and various aspects of adverse health effects.
And we will share that information about how to access that meeting. The corporate, get back with the person who invited you to this meeting, and they'll share with you the invitation to each of those Zooms. And many are asking, well, how do I get the product? How do I try it? It's the same thing. Just go back with whoever invited you to this meeting, and they'll help you set up your own discount subscription with Engage Global. So the company wants you to get the product, wants you to be able to try the product at a reasonable cost. Most of us have found that once we get started on it, we cannot do without it. And we could be here for the next 2 hours just listening to all the different testimonials from we had 80 people at a peak on this call. And I would venture to say half of them have a story. So please come on Wednesday night. For those of you who did not get a chance to share your stories today, please bring it on Wednesday night to the corporate call and share it there. So Dr. Prasad, thank you very much again for being willing to join us. We look forward to having you back next month. We're going to have another very interesting topic that we're going to have Dr. Prasad back on right here on Sunday at 4 o'clock. So keep your eyes and ears open. And again, Jeff and Helen, thank you very much for joining us. This is our discussion for today. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
To have David DeMelk has been in.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank
Yeah.
Very welcome.
Jeff and Helen.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.